Welcome to this tutorial on how to use edible Flexfrost fabric sheets from Icing Images. I'm going to show you how we are going to make a lace with these lace mats here and the Flexfrost sheets. All you need is a little bit of water, doesn't matter if it's cold or warm, and a straight edge scraper. I've tried other types of lace making materials, some that are pre-mixed, some that you have to mix. You put it in the mold, you let it dry, and then you get your lace. Well, for me, it didn't work so well. I was able to get it in the lace, it looked beautiful, it just would never fully be able to come in. It would never fully dry. And I even tried the oven trick where you put it at the very lowest setting, leave it in there a couple hours. I've even did that and then left it all night long and it still wouldn't come out. So far, the only thing that worked for me is these Flexfrost sheets. These are from Icing Images, and we are going to be using this shimmer sample pack. I usually use fondant to make my lace. So for example, this one would work well because the silicone is a lot thicker, it's a little bit more durable. So basically I would just put my fondant here and I would use my rolling pin and just roll it really hard, and that would work. But for some like this, it's really hard to get fondant in here. So Flexfrost sheets is perfect for this. So I'm gonna use this one to start, and then maybe we can use some of these other molds here. So just take your Flexfrost sheet, and I'm just gonna cut it kind of to the size of this mold. So this is it's about the right size. You can trim it if you'd like. I'm just gonna trim the edge off. We'll probably end up using that later. You can trim it with the backing on. That's what I'm doing. And then it's so easy to peel it off. So you don't really wanna take the backing off until you know you're gonna use this. Sometimes you can get away with just using one sheet. Sometimes I end up using two. It just depends on how thick the cavities are, how deep it goes. This one's not too deep. This one's, no, not very deep at all, but you can tell. That's also gonna depend on your drying time. The deeper the cavity is, the deeper it goes, the longer you're gonna need to dry it. I'm gonna use this one first. So it's so easy. You just peel the backing off. And you can see how flexible it is. You see that? This you don't need. This is just the back of it. Throw that away. And then if there's any part that doesn't have the shimmer on, just trim that off, because you don't want to make your lace and you're trying to get this pretty pearl color and then a little tiny bit of it is white. So just throw that away. Make sure you have your scraper ready, your mold, and your cup of water. This is all you do. Put it in the water and just run it through. Make sure it's wet. Lay it on top of your mold and just let it sit for a second. But you see how it's kind of starting to take the shape. Now we will take our scraper. It's starting to get like a little bubble right there. That's totally fine. Take your scraper as long as you have a straight edge. I like to start at the top, and then I'm just gonna pull down. We're just scraping it. All right, so that's totally normal there, how, you know, it's pulling some of it away. Just go right back over it. You see how it's already working? This one is, the cavities aren't that deep, so it's working really nicely. And you see how you still have some of that Flexfrost there that's wet. You're gonna keep using that. Keep using it. Try to press it into the crevices that don't have it. So you see right here how it doesn't have any. I'm gonna take an offset spatula and I'm gonna try to just scrape that off and put it right back here. Now, if you don't have enough, which this one I really don't have that much, I can use some of those pieces of the sheets that I cut off already. Make sure you're putting enough pressure here. If you don't put enough pressure, you're going to have little pieces in the middle that still have a very, very, very thin coating of this. And so that's not gonna be good when you pull it off. Your lace is still gonna kind of be connected in the spots where it's supposed to be open. I just got a good amount off of that scrape. I'm just adding it back over here because this part needs a little help filling in these cavities here. Right here needs a little bit more. Go ahead and add it. The great thing about this one is that it takes a while to dry. So you can come back in here and add a little bit more. The only reason why we keep going back and adding it in here is to make sure that when you pull your lace out that it's one solid piece so that you don't have holes. I'm gonna add a little bit more in here. I don't know if you can see that. It goes down a little bit. I want it to be completely flat. So totally easy fix. Take your water and we're gonna take this sheet again, peel off the backing. We're just gonna get this wet. Lay it on top. So that's what's good about having these little extra pieces. Just keep those around. Sometimes if the mold is really, really deep, you probably need to go back in and add another full sheet. But for now, one sheet and then the tiny edge is working. You see how it kind of just turns into a liquid. That's what's great about this is there's no mixing required. It's already done for you. There we go. Oh, right now it's coming together beautifully. Okay, so just clean off the edge. Sometimes if I'm doing multiple molds, I'm just trying to keep this. Scrape off as much as you can and then you can clean it with, you know, a napkin or a paper towel. So I think this is good. Great. So if you can take a look here, it's all in there. I'm gonna use a different mold just so you guys can see how it works in different molds. Every mold is different. Some are more flexible than others. We'll try this one. This one's very, very flexible. So if you remember, that one was very hard to bend and this one's super easy, super flexible. So with those, it's a little bit more difficult, but I'll show you how I do it. So it's the same thing as before. Take your Flexfrost sheet, peel off the backing, throw this away, and we're gonna dip this in the water. After letting the Icing Images Flexfrost sit overnight, I did check them at about 4 hours and then again at 6 hours, and they seemed okay, but I just wanted to wait until today. So you can kind of see when they'll start pulling away naturally from the mold. They'll just start pulling away from the edge, and that's great because then you're not gonna fight with these. So now I will show you how to remove them. You can either use a tapered offset spatula like this one, or you can just use, you know, a flat edge scraper. This one's just a Fat Daddy-O's offset scraper and a flat straight edge scraper. Sometimes if they're small, you can take it out this way, but then sometimes I turn them upside down. So we can turn this one upside down, see if it releases easily. You always want to kind of look at it from the side to make sure you're getting all of it out and no pieces are still stuck in there. So this is the first piece. So this is the Flexfrost. And as you can see, it is flexible. It's been sitting all night. It's kind of cold in here. You can airbrush it. You can paint it with, you know, poppy paints, which are edible paints. It's very flexible, durable. You don't have to worry about this really ripping, putting it on a cake or even cupcakes. If you wanted to maybe make sure that it didn't lose its shape at all, you can put it in a Ziploc baggie or container. I do have a cake I want to show you that I made a while ago. Now this cake was made about 1.5 years ago, and I did 2 different techniques, and these are still flexible. I actually kind of squished this by accident, but as you can see, you can still move these. These are still flexible. If this was fondant, you would be breaking all of these. So these are still flexible after 1.5 years. And these are some of these little cute rolled flowers that I made. These are also still flexible, but I don't want to push on them too much just so that they can keep their shape. But it's 1.5 years not covered. So this is just out air drying. So it holds its shape really well. So that's the first one. We got this butterfly out of this silicone mold. And remember that your drying times are gonna vary based on your climate, humidity, and how deep these crevices are in your molds. So then let's try this one. I like to flip it upside down. And this, putting this straight edge here just kind of helps me to hold it gently against my work surface to make sure I'm not pulling. I want to be pulling on the mat versus pulling on my lace. And it looks like it's coming out beautifully. So it just sat overnight, no oven needed. So I used a pearl. It has like a pearl shimmer. This is the Flexfrost with pearl. You can kind of see it shimmering a little bit. It's very flexible, so you don't have to worry about when you're going to attach it to your cake. I used to do lace out of fondant, and when you're going to adhere it to your cake, whether it's buttercream or fondant, sometimes you're going to put it on your cake and the fondant's just rolling like this. And with this Flexfrost, it's so great. You would just glue that in place with water or edible glue. You don't have to worry about these ripping like the fondant ones would. If it did happen to rip, it's totally fine. Once you adhere it to your cake, you really won't be able to tell at all. So you see here, this little part did get ripped. This little tiny one, but once you put it on your cake, you won't be able to tell because they'll just lay flat to each other. You see that? You can't even really tell. So there you have it. This is edible fabric sheet. It's called Flexfrost, and it's from Icing Images. Please let me know if you have any questions, and happy lace making. Bye-bye.